Boys, I've been guzzling that tea. What up, my dudes? All right, we're taking a look at the 2024 St. Louis RF Supercross track on MX Simulator. Sorry for the delay. Spency Boy went to the actual real-life St. Louis Supercross race, so I didn't have a chance to make the video on it here, but I thought it was important to go back and really check this track out because I do believe that this is one of the hardest tracks that they have made all year long, bro. Especially when it just comes to overall complexity of the track. Like, yeah, you might have had some other tracks this year that had harder whoops or one section that was a little bit more difficult, but overall, I really feel like this track has the most, like, complexity skill gap to it. You know what I'm saying? And I love this pre-made rut before the corner, before the finish line. I do believe that is the first actual Spency Boy running 58.6. I don't know what in the dog shit I was doing in qualifying, but I could not figure this track out. I don't know what the hell I was doing. You know, I qualified 11th at Birmingham and then qualified like 15th at Seattle, and then I couldn't qualify for shit at both of the last Triple Crowns. I don't know what the hell's going on, but either way, finally got this track figured out though once I kind of realized how to take the outside after the whoops and then hit that inside rut before the finish line. I think that's the... Actually, I'm pretty damn sure that is the first actual, like, inside pre-made rut that was actually the main line on any track of the year so far this year, which sounds kind of crazy, but yeah, they kind of had one a little bit there after the finish line, running another 58, back-to-back 58s, back-to-back. Got that Lipton in me going, back-to-back. But that's one thing about this track right here that I feel like really makes it different than a lot of the other ones. Like, especially if you're on a 450 and you're hitting both of the quads on this track, the transitions are getting to such a steep level now that it's almost like you're required to run a certain rider mass and a certain setup on the bike, or you can't even get enough lift off of how steep the transitions and rhythm section jumps are to get up over them properly. Like, you'll just flip over, you know what I'm saying? Whereas, like, pretty much all the tracks from last year, you could run a lot lower of a rider mash. You could run a different style of a setup and still get around the tracks. But this St. Louis track in particular, one reason why I love it so much is it's really the perfect track to test a setup on, because it's almost like you can't even get around this track if your setup's not dialed in. And I do mean going really fast on a 450. I don't mean if you're fucking putting around on a little 50cc bike, not even hitting the big lines, okay? You know, there's different levels of when I say a track is hard. It's kind of funny, a lot of times people will say, like, Spencer, that one track's actually not that hard, bro. And they're out there on a 250, not hitting any quads, you know, barely going through the whoops. Yeah, bro, it's not very hard, dude. Yeah, because you're not actually going the full potential on the track, bro. That's what I mean by a track being difficult. When you're going at that full speed level on it and hitting the biggest rhythms on it, you know what I'm saying? But this track's really good for testing, though, because it has a little bit of everything on it. That's the one thing about this track that I think separates it from any other track this year. It has tight corners, it's got pre-made inside corners that you actually would hit. You know, like if you go back to their Seattle track, they had some inside pre-made ruts on some corners, but they weren't even worth hitting because the berm was big enough where you wouldn't even, you know, you wouldn't even go for that inside rut. But this track in particular, you know, it's got the tight inside technical kind of corners, especially this whole section where you come around the last Supercross triple and then you hit this inside rut. It's got like a little roller before it, so it makes it kind of tricky to get down into. but it also has some more wide open-y style sections, like after you come over the wall right here. This is more high speed, just berm blasting, back-to-back berms, high speed, you know, kind of more wider corner style. You got a pretty peaked out Supercross triple right here. It's got the, you know, the decent sized triple in onto the table and then getting off of that and bouncing up to hit that quad right there. That is a professional transitional quad right there. I mean, that ain't no joke, bro. And even this one right here, doubling in right here and tripling. Spency boy messing it up, but being able to quad that and then single to the inside, they've got that peak back to these jump faces. They got that edge back to these jump faces that makes them on that sort of next level of difficulty to hit. That to me is what creates that's the separation to me between like an amateur Supercross track and a pro level Supercross track, is when the jump transitions and the jump peaks have that little bit of extra, like 10%, 20%, you know, peakness to it, where you really got to have that forward and backwards leaning skill in the game to even get through it. You know what I mean? Okay, getting her in a little bit of third person here. So another big thing about this track that I thought was really sick was the feeling of the dirt. You know, St. Louis is kind of known for being a little bit more of that loamy style, and I feel like they got that part of it right on the money. You know, the feeling of it. It does kind of have a little bit more of a loamy feel, but it's not like stupendous levels, like Southwick level feeling, you know what I'm saying? It kind of like more how their Arlington track felt, right? This to me just feels a little more like what it actually looked like in person seeing the track. But one thing that this track is not really like, that it was like in person, was there's just so many more ruts than what RF is creating here, or Erode is creating with these RF tracks. It's just not even in the same stratosphere. I mean, so many of you boys want to act like this Erode system on MX Simulator makes it so much more realistic. Bro, have you seen the tracks in person? I mean, you do realize it would be more realistic to have 3 or 4 ruts, pre-made ruts coming out of some of these corners with less Erode than it would to go in here with, you know, one pre-made rut on one corner and then having a lot of Erode. You do understand that is not the more realistic route to go. I mean, you do understand that, right? Like, did you see the ruts going up the finish line jump phase? Did you see the ruts coming out of some of the corners in the real life St. Louis, you know, race? It was on another level, dog. We ain't talking one giant singular rut coming out of the corner. We're talking 3, 4, 5, 6 ruts coming around some of the corners. And I'm not saying you got to do it on every corner, but it's just kind of comical that, you know, this is the first RF Supercross track of the year that they even had one inside pre-made rut that we actually even really hit. You know, that it was actually even really the main line on the track. Here we are damn near to the end of the season, crazy moments. Here we are damn near to the end of the season, you know, and we're just now starting to get to the point where you got one singular pre-made rut on the track that's actually worth hitting. RF is still so far off when it comes to that. And y'all boys want to sit here and praise them and act like they're doing something so great with the Erode system. Y'all boys are a motherfucking joke with that shit, dog. I'm just telling you.